Gundam.tk presents Full Armor Unicorn Gundam. Hey again everybody, it's Robert184, 2 R's 2 B's from Gundam.tk, which is GundamReviews.net, and you've already seen all of these special plates which come with the Master Grade Full Armor Unicorn Gundam and result in all of those weapons back there, not to mention the base jabber. But then, if you just want to build up these, it's going to be very familiar to the old Master Grade Gundam, except swap the red for green, and let's see what we get in terms of the parts. In addition to the base jabber and all the weapons that you saw in the previous part, in terms of actual body parts here, you're going to get the head, chest, 2 shoulders, arms, and legs with this bizarrely half-transformed unicorn. When it's all put together, the extra parts that you're going to have are a very little tiny Banneker links that you can just put away unless you're going to paint it up, a single unicorn horn that you could replace the V-fins with if you intend to keep it in unicorn mode for extended periods of time, a regular action base connector. For the Unicorn Gundam, you can use that in either mode. These 2 parts are to attach all of the myriad of weapons onto its forearms. These parts are to convert the B shields into A shields, so you could have 3 identical shields. And this is a custom connector that comes only with the full armor one to get this whole beast up on an action base. There's a million stickers to put on if you're a fan of that, but the only thing that I really did is just put on a little bit of lining, and I went with gray on most of the body and black on the face. But outside of that, I was hoping to keep it pretty minimalist just to show off the green inner frame. The only painting that was done was to replace those seals there. I just used some old Mr. Color. This is number 4, plain old yellow, not necessarily the best for Gundam. But anyway, it does look a little bit better than the seals, I'd like to hope. For the parts, starting bottom to top, the leg in the unicorn mode is going to be very, very white, except for these little bits of gray down there on the side, most of which are functional. And that's about the only color you're going to be getting in the Gundam, the blue that you see here on the backpack, until you actually open it up. And I want to start things off by saying kudos to Hobby Link and their fantastic channel on YouTube, where they showed off that thanks to the inclusion of these parts here, they actually give you the OVA parts instead of the ver.Ka parts. They actually replace them on the plate, which is interesting. So instead of throwing in a whole new plate like they could have, they just gave it here. Somewhat disappointing that they didn't give you all the new, better parts. But anyway, the best part of that is that when you bend this leg down, you're going to be getting a 90-degree bend, which isn't that big a deal, but still much nicer to have it than to not. However, the rest of the legs are going to feel pretty bricky, and these feet, despite the fact that they do have good mobility, they're able to bend forward and back, but you'll just see that things start to fall apart because you can really see that these feet were designed to be transformed, and though they're going to be solid and stay in place hopefully in one pose, don't expect to move them too much and actually have them look good unless you seal them all back up. But all the focus should be on the Psycho Frame mode, and when you do that, you're going to open it up and you're going to get green up here on the thighs. The knees look great here and down there as well. Everything stretches out. You bring up this guard here. It doesn't show off the green that's visible down there if you did pop this up in either mode, which is a little bit strange. But in terms of the practicality, you're able to bend it down like this, so you're getting just over 90, and everything seems solid except for the fact that that ankle, if you do try to move it, you can see that things will pop off. Although it will get where you want it to go, you're just going to have to fix it after. When the Unicorn Gundam hulks out, basically, in addition to getting bulkier, he's also just going to stretch and get a lot taller as well, as you can see how much difference there's going to be there with the legs. But I just wanted to show you this next to the 1/100th Zolidia. It's not a high grade, strangely enough. From Victory Gundam all the way back in 1993, and yes, the Full Armor Unicorn Gundam's leg is as tall as its 1/100th counterpart here, even though this one is a lot later technology, and I wonder if he would school the unicorn. I figured I'd show this guy off half transformed, so anyway, you can see that this is the Unicorn Gundam side, where you're going to have very little gray showing, just a little bit underneath. On the back, you're going to have clips here if you want to put on the extra ammo packs. Remember that they're not telling you to build these, but if you do want to you just use your imagination with the extra plates. You can take these and actually strap them on here, or you could just hand them off to the regular Master Grade Unicorn Gundam so that he could have 2 on either side. But in terms of the Unicorn mode one here, you can open this up and expose this part, which is always good for a laugh. It's green at least now instead of red. You can open up this armor to reveal one of the better parts, this green part here, which opens up these spiky parts, which look very sharp. There's a little bit more gray exposed here as we also get the green, and if you open up this back part here, there's a thruster with a little bit of green that you can make out there from the side. The half-transformed chest is going to expose a little bit of green down there below, and you do that by opening up this part and popping it down. This is how it's going to be sealed up, and when you open it up, you basically just slide this part out, flip this panel down, which exposes a whole bunch of green and probably the best feature of this whole thing, And then you have these guns up here, which are looking very sharp. They're actually made out of 3 small pieces that clip in quite nicely. My only note of concern is just these shoulders here. When you put them in, they can come forward, but it's a very ugly sound the first time that you open that up in there. And over here, you'll notice that I didn't bring it forward, and it still doesn't want to come unless you want to really give a tug on that. So that's something that I may have already broken this one. So it's something you just want to be a little bit careful with. Here's the closed and open shoulder, and you'll notice that there's a little bit of green frame that you can see in there. No matter how tightly I try to squeeze that in, it doesn't want to stay together. It doesn't look terrible to reveal a little bit. It just looks like, hey, this guy's got a power up that you just haven't seen yet there. As for this one, it's going to be pretty good though, because you get a good streak of green right down there, down the middle. Nothing up there at the top, that's just part of the mechanism, and this gray part gets exposed over on the side, which is going to look pretty good and just hulked out in general. The regular arm here is just going to have this shoulder part up here, which is going to rotate around like that. This is one of the few places where I put some lining, just a little bit of gray there on the side. The bend at the elbow, it's going to come up and get in the way ever so slightly, so you've just got to be careful, but you are going to get over 90 degrees, which is good to see. Down here, you've got this part, which you can actually put a beam saber into. When it's in its other mode and bend that down, you can see that it doesn't want to cooperate. And you have this gray part down here, and it's worth following the directions in the manual when you're putting that in. Unlike some other ones that feel really loose, this one stays in place pretty well, but still gives you that extra little bit of mobility to go with the 3-finger trigger finger split. Unlike the leg, which has a lot of moving parts when you open it up, the arm just has this part really just pop down and slide out to the side. This is going to make this a lot easier though to bring down the beam saber. You can store that in either side. And it's going to come with the 2 pink beams there, so if you just want to go for a single Wolverine claw there, 3-finger trigger finger split, and the bend is not going to be affected. In fact, it just feels a little bit easier to get it where you want it to go. So again, unlike the legs where you saw a big difference, here it's just a little bit longer and just popped out a little bit more to the side, but again, the more green you see, the better off it is. The backpack is half open, half closed here. This is the Unicorn Gundam side, and it's going to hide all of the green in there. One thruster is going to be visible, and these beam sabers are going to be down, so you won't see them from the front of the Gundam when you're looking at it. But once it goes destroy, you get a whole bunch of green exposed on the inside, including, if you can make it out, that little blue part, which I am always impressed with when you cover up the clear AB parts there. Everything's looking sharp, and you can open this up to reveal a second thruster and the green as you pop the beam saber over the shoulder. And for the ultimate piece of Frankenstein work here, you have the head of the Unicorn Gundam in half Unicorn mode, half Destroy mode. With the Destroy mode, these side pieces are going to be forward. I went with some black lining there, don't necessarily know if that was the best. And these are the parts here that I ended up painting just on the inside. The high-grade Universal Sentry, they were yellow on all sides, which is certainly an option. I just decided to paint the one. However, if you do bring it together, you are going to see some pretty ugly stuff there from the front. So you could swap that out if they do give you an all-white one, which is going to look a lot better in Unicorn mode, of course. However, it would have been nice if they actually gave you the part from the OVA version, which gives you a third option in terms of the unicorn horns, and this one wouldn't have any issues of it moving. However, that green is really looking sharp for me. The eyes, the goatee, the camera lenses, front and back, everything is looking good, and it matches quite well. And if you want to fix up that old splitting wonder there, that is the unicorn horn, and exposes all that yellow there when you look at it from the side, I'd recommend putting it into Destroy mode first, bring the whole horn section forward, then you can pop those 2 parts and replace it with this one, which is just going to give you a solid white horn instead of this ugly split V. I'm going to wrap up my review of the parts right there before showing you how to go ahead and do the transformation, which can be a little bit trickier and is just easier to deal with as individual parts instead of a mobile suit. Anyway, everybody, stay tuned for that, and then to see the whole thing put together into mobile suit mode and all those weapons attached as we get the full armor Master Grade Unicorn Gundam. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please let me know what you think with a comment down below. Always great to hear from you. See you next time. Bye. The epic Gundam Fight 14 nobody's been waiting for.